The Gospel according to John, chapter 19, passage 1, the crucifixion of Jesus. Then Pilate took Jesus and had him flogged, and the soldiers, having woven a crown of thorns, placed it on his head and clothed him in a purple robe. They approached him and said, "Hail, King of the Jews," and struck him with their hands. Pilate again went out to the Jews and said to them, "Here, I am bringing him out to you to let you know that I find no guilt in him." Jesus then went out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. Pilate said to them, "Behold the man." When the chief priests and the officers saw him, they shouted, "Crucify him, crucify him." Pilate said to them, "Take him yourselves and crucify him, for I find no guilt in him." The Jews answered him, "We have a law, and according to that law he ought to die because he made himself the Son of God." When Pilate heard this statement, he was even more afraid. He entered the praetorium again and said to Jesus, "Where are you from?" But Jesus gave him no answer. So Pilate said to him, "You will not speak to me? Do you not know that I have authority to release you and authority to crucify you?" Jesus answered him, "You would have no authority over me at all unless it had been given you from above. Therefore he who delivered me over to you has the greater sin." From then on Pilate sought to release him. But the Jews cried out, "If you release this man, you are not Caesar's friend. Everyone who makes himself a king opposes Caesar." When Pilate heard these words, he brought Jesus out and sat down on the judgment seat at a place called the Stone Pavement, in Aramaic, Gabbatha. Now it was the day of preparation of the Passover. It was about the 6th hour. He said to the Jews, "Behold your king." They cried out, "Away with him! Away with him! Crucify him!" Pilate said to them, "Shall I crucify your king?" The chief priests answered, "We have no king but Caesar." So he delivered him over to them to be crucified. So they took Jesus, and carrying his own cross, he went out to the place called the Place of the Skull, which in Aramaic is called Golgotha. There they crucified him, and with him 2 others, one on either side, and Jesus between them. Pilate also wrote a title and put it on the cross. It read, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." Many of the Jews read this title, for the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city, and it was written in Hebrew, Latin, and Greek. Let us look more closely at this passage. The crucifixion of Jesus is the climax of the drama of the Gospel. It is the moment when the innocent is sentenced to death, rejected by the very people he came to save. Pilate, though he admits that he finds no guilt in him, submits to the pressure of the crowd and delivers him to death. This shows how easily a person can succumb to pressure, forgetting the truth. The soldiers mocked Jesus by placing a crown of thorns on him and dressing him in a purple robe, as if he were a false king. They do not understand that they are truly looking at a king, but his kingdom is not of this world. Jesus does not fight back or defend himself. He does not accuse his persecutors. He humbly accepts his fate, knowing it is the only path to our salvation. On the cross, Jesus is placed between 2 criminals. Pilate orders the inscription "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews" to be placed there. The inscription is in 3 languages, Hebrew, Latin, and Greek, as if it were an announcement to the entire world. The chief priests protest, but Pilate holds his ground. The inscription on the cross, intended as mockery, becomes truth. Jesus is a king, but his throne is the cross, and his crown is made of thorns. This scene calls us to reflect on our relationship with Jesus. Do we recognize him as the King of our lives? Do we follow him even when the path gets tough? Jesus showed that true strength lies not in revenge or power, but in love, which is willing to give its life for others. His path is a call for us to trust and surrender. Sometimes we may feel alone, treated unjustly, or misunderstood. Jesus went through all of this so that we would know he is with us in every difficult moment. On Golgotha, the greatest victory occurred, the victory of love that gives itself completely. Are we ready to respond to this victory with our faith? May God's love guide you every day. Warm regards, your friend.